Well, you've seen the title of the video, you've seen the thumbnail for the video, so I'm assuming you know why you're here, so let's just jump into the video. Eggman in the 1.2 full release is not very good. He's not very good at all. And I have multiple reasons as to why he's not good. Just to give you guys a little bit of a preview, here are all the things that will be discussed in this video. I plan on going in-depth with each of one of these to try and explain why I believe Eggman is such a bad character. But before doing so, I should probably go over his base stats. So Eggman is a support character with a big hitbox and a jetpack boost ability with a 25-second cooldown. The turrets have a 12-second cooldown, and you can place exactly 5 of them. What they do is that they slow down Sonic.exe, and they also can stack with each other, meaning that if you place down all of them at once, the ability stacks even more. It takes roughly 1.5 seconds in order to build the machine, and then will proceed to shoot 50 times, as it takes 2% ammo for each shot, and there's only 100% ammo in total. The ammo will then need to be restocked, which takes roughly around the same time as it does to build it. Building it and repairing it does the exact same thing. There's not really any difference besides the fact that you don't have to place it down. And Tails can also repair turrets as well. Although this feels more like a niche reference to the fact that Tails isn't an idiot rather than an actually good game mechanic, because it's sort of just there. It rarely comes into play. But hey, it's better than nothing. So let's start talking about the turrets themselves, aka their situational usefulness, their niches, as well as how spammable they are. And to be honest, they just ain't spammable. Ain't spammable in the slightest. For example, it takes 12 seconds to put 1 down, 24 seconds to put 2 down, 36 seconds to put 3 down, 48 seconds to put 3 down, and 60 seconds to put down all 5 of them. Now, typically, the turret is usually at its best when there are 2 to 3. But the fact that he's at his best after 36 and or 60 seconds worth of time is just laughable. It's miserable. With how little the turrets provide and with how situational they are, it's really, and I mean really, difficult to get all of them down. And it's really difficult to maintain a nest as well. At least with like the engineer from Team Fortress 2. As long as you have a good enough team, good enough positioning, as well as good enough skills to defend yourself, you can go pretty far. And to be honest, if you can get 3 turrets or more down when playing as Eggman, congratulations, your teammates are either really good or Sonic.exe himself is completely brain dead. Because it is so easy to go after turrets. A lot of people say that they're a good distraction, but they're only ever a good distraction if you put them really far off to the side, in which case their usefulness sort of drains. Because the further away they are, the less range they have, aka the less time they can spend shooting at Sonic. And with how high that cooldown is, every single time you lose a turret, it sort of just is soul crushing. And I would say that the worst part of his lack of spammability is the fact that you can't fully maintain a nest. What do I mean? Well, let's say that Sonic.exe decides to chase some dude off, and that dude is stupid enough to run away from his team. Or everybody just decides to move somewhere else, or something. You have to walk over to every single turret, pick it up, and then put it down again. And unlike Rouge's detonation ability, it doesn't go on a shorter cooldown. It should, because you don't have to... Eggman shouldn't have to build anymore, he just picks it up. He isn't destroying it. But the fact that you have to walk over to every single turret, pick it up again, and then place it down does not make it spammable. Hell, the fact that you have to build and maintain the turrets at all does not make them spammable. Because it is really easy to get hit while doing either one of those things. The turrets should either just destroy themselves upon reaching 0 ammo, or not function on an ammo system at all. You should just be able to place it down, build it, and then it just shoots forever. But the fact that Rouge is better as a more aggressive support character despite her being more defensive is crazy to me, because her whole thing is placing down things in advance in order to catch Sonic off guard or to lure Sonic into a trap, whereas with Eggman you have to be significantly more mobile with your turrets. You have to constantly pick them up and move them, you have to constantly repair them, you have to constantly place down new ones after they're destroyed. And unlike almost every other support character, since he can't place it down immediately, and it has a pretty hefty cooldown, this means that you can't really use it for self-defense. Honestly, it's better just to get away as far as possible, either using jetpack boost or just straight up running. Placing down a turret in an attempt to slow Sonic down to give you more time never works out unless Sonic is really far away from you, in which case he'll most likely just use a mobility option. But yeah, they're not spammable. The fact that you only have 5 and you have to constantly maintain them and pick them up whenever Sonic goes somewhere else with one of your teammates, and the fact that they can be destroyed so easily, and the fact that it takes 60 seconds to put all 5 of them down. Meanwhile, Rouge can place down all of her sensors and her bomb ability in significantly faster time. How are they supposed to be seen as spammable? Also, speaking of mobility options, I want to focus on how effective they are. In which case, while they can be effective, they are way too situational. Let me explain. So, Sonic has a few ways to get around them. He can destroy them instantly through regular means, but he can also destroy them through mobility options. Or he can just straight up use teleport if he's Sonic.exe, or he can just go invisible, in which case they will not be able to detect him. And because of this, mobility options tend to be the bane of any Robotnick player's existence. Now, if you were to compare this to another support ability, like, I don't know, Sensor or EMP, if you try to use a mobility option while going up against a Sally that used EMP on you, unless you're using Spin Dash, it's not really going to be that effective. And if you're using a mobility option against sensors, they can sense you regardless of whether or not you're using a mobility option. The moment that you walk over it, you have been sensed. It's also worth mentioning that the turrets can indeed shoot up and down, but it is a very small sightline. So much so to where, unless there is a very small edge that Sonic can't jump to, you might as well just place them on the same floor as him. And there are very few instances where this comes into play. Most of the time, it's just better to place them on the same floor as him. But unfortunately, that's not the end of how situational the turrets can be. So, there was a video made by YouTuber Blaze, who is a fellow Eggman main, who was doing some testing with the turrets. And he found out that turrets do not slow the enemy down when they're using lunge. And I gotta ask, why exactly does it not slow him down when using lunge? Why does lunge just cancel it out? Why? There's no like good explanation for this. It just does. And it's not like it's some super cool mobility option that makes him really fast. But what this means is that lunge spam, which is easily regarded as one of the most annoying things to exist in this game in the present day, does not have a proper counter. Eggman's whole thing is literally slowing him down with turrets, and yet one of the few times when you'd want him to be slowed down, he just isn't. Keep in mind that if you try to lunge spam when going after Sally after she's used EMP on you, you're gonna have a rough time. But with Eggman, no, that just doesn't happen. But now that we've gone over everything about the turrets, let's truly put together in a small list about just how situational they are. The turrets work at their best when Sonic does not use a mobility option, does not use an ability that conceals himself, is not already on top of a teammate, is not spamming lunge, and is not currently going after the turret, not to mention the fact that you need multiple turrets for it to be the most effective, not to mention the fact that it's best when the turrets are on a slightly slanted platform, not to mention the fact that you also have to put the turrets to the side. Keep in mind, there are going to be places and springs and important key points where you can't put them to the side. All of this combined with their quote-unquote spam ability makes them really bad as an ability. And keep in mind, if the stars align and Sonic.exe doesn't go after the turrets and decides to, I don't know, go after you without doing anything like spamming lunge or using a mobility option, all they do is give a slight speed decrease to him. But yeah, the turrets suck as an ability. They're not spammy enough and too situational. But now I want to focus more on Eggman as a character, like how his abilities work, if his abilities combo well, and his line placement. But let's talk about his abilities and how well they combo with each other, or rather the lack of comboing that they can do. So every other support character can combo with their ability. Sally can use EMP and give herself a shield to give herself massive invincibility frames as well as a speed boost that lasts for quite a long time. Rouge can slide and drop the flashbang, but she can also use detonate mine as well as sensors to find out where he is, trap him, and then blow up on him. Silver can use speed resist to give him more time for her orb to recharge, but he can also use the barrier ability to stop charging Sonic and then use orb to keep him down for longer. Hell, even Cream, even though it's not the best, Cream can use speed boost to dodge an attack if Sonic.exe is coming at her. Eggman, he can't do that at all. When you use one of his two abilities, it forces you to use one of them. You cannot combo with them at all. This means that he's very much a low mobility combo character, because if you're using an ability, you're committing to it. And even if you bring comboing out of this situation, like let's say for some reason the abilities did combo with each other, you'd be physically unable to. You'd be physically unable to combo with the abilities themselves. Because when you do one, you can't do the other. Like, physically you can't. But keeping that in mind, let's now talk about his line placement, aka where he should physically be to be the most rewarding and most helpful to his team. So typically, support characters actually have a pretty wide range of where they should be. So I've created this little chart here to show you basically where a support character should be, in the front lines or the back lines. Try and take a guess where he falls under. Do you think he's more with Cream or maybe Rouge? He is in fact neither. He is actually more closer to Sally, or smack dab in the middle of the chart. And there are two reasons why this is a problem. One, he has no self-defense. And two, he has a really big hitbox, and that big hitbox does come into play quite a lot. It makes sense why Cream doesn't have any self-defense. She's a support character that heals. Support characters that heal should be very vulnerable, but she also has an incredibly small hitbox and a passive playstyle. When you play Cream, you can just stand in the back for 30 seconds, wait for something to happen, and then when something finally does happen, as long as you're smart enough with how you play her, you can just heal, and then as long as Sonic doesn't target you or you don't act like a complete idiot, you will never have to get close to Sonic. And there's something about Eggman's abilities in the fact that not only can you not physically combo with them, but they do not work well with each other in terms of line placement. The turrets put Eggman more in the middle. Jetpack Boost, considering the way it works, puts Eggman more on par with Cream. Because with Jetpack Boost, you either have to wait for the ability to finish charging so that way it can send you flying, or you have to button mash, in which case Eggman will slightly halt his movement because when you activate the ability you stop moving, and then button mash to press the jump button. So you have to jump, then hit X, then jump again. It'll be really easy to hit him both times because of this. And before anybody says anything, I actually do really like Jetpack Boost. I like it more than the original one, specifically because it's more interesting, but it does not fit with his playstyle, it does not fit with his line placement, and it especially does not work well with the turrets. Not to mention the fact that, to be honest, Eggman is kind of boring. It's just, he's not very rewarding, and it takes so long to do anything. And I know there are going to be people that are going to say that his playstyle just isn't for me. But I enjoy playing Engineer in TF2, and I enjoy playing Engineer in Garden Warfare 2. It's not necessarily like I have a disdain for that type of playstyle, it's just the playstyle is not very rewarding for Eggman because it does so little. Whereas with the Engineer, if you get a full nest set up, you can do a whole lot. You can help your teammates in so many different ways. It feels so rewarding. But with Eggman, nah, just slight speed decrease for Sonic.exe. Nothing really all that good. On the topic of his ability, I wanted to compare it with the other support characters to see just how good it really is. So, because when you put Eggman in a vacuum, he's pretty interesting. When you put Eggman in a vacuum with only Sonic.exe or Colossus, he's mediocre. But when you put Eggman in a vacuum with the other support characters, it's just no contest. He's easily the worst. And I know that support characters shouldn't be compared together, but when two support characters are kinda similar in the way they act, obviously one is going to be better than the other. Because, in my personal opinion, a support character should always be as unique as possible, and Eggman isn't. He basically just has a worse version of EMP that he can place down. Compare that to any other ability in the game, and it just isn't as unique. He is not very unique, just play Sally. And then there's also Rouge and Silver's abilities. Like, I don't really know what was going on through Out's mind when he was designing the characters and their abilities, but if I had to guess, it was something along the lines of, well, a support character shouldn't have a stun. And I would agree with him that a support character shouldn't have a stun, but then he proceeded to give a stun to a support character. Granted, it's weak, but it is spammy and incredibly useful. I have seen Silver players, myself included, use this ability almost like a melee attack, because Silver can activate it so fast, and it's so unpredictable as to when he'll use it, it basically becomes a melee ability if you know what you're doing. So, that's why I'm talking about the ability, because it basically has replaced Shock. It can be really difficult to avoid, it can be activated quite quickly, and it doesn't really stun for that long. The only difference between Shock and Orb is that it's really spammy, and to be honest, Orb is way more annoying than Shock ever was. Unless it was 1.0. Now I want to talk about Rouge. I really like the detonation bomb ability. I think it's well designed, I think it's pretty cool, I think it's kind of weird as an ability because it makes her less stealthy, but then again, the best way to be better is to make a character teammate reliant rather than being able to just hide in a corner all day. But my problem with the ability is that it's kind of too good when talking about Rouge's character. Like, why didn't Eggman get the explosive device? His whole thing is trickery, and it would have been great for him to combo with Rouge. And Rouge's whole thing was being a recon character. What she would do is that she would stop Sonic or Colossus from being able to hide and ambush the enemy, effectively making some of their abilities useless. And if you wanted to get better at Rouge, you could help your teammates by jumping in and flashbanging. Like, you don't have to use flashbang to help your teammates, but you can if you're skillful enough. So it really feels like she was just given this ability to compensate for the lack of evasion, because I feel like personally you could remove evasion, give her nothing, and she'd still be a good character. She did not need this ability, even though I really like it and want it to stay in the game, she did not need it. But keeping on the topic of comparing them together, I wanted to talk about how well support characters do with minions, because typically minions can easily shut down a support character. But you want to know who can shut them down the easiest? Eggman. Eggman can be shut down the easiest by a minion. For example, a minion can either body block the turret, or they can destroy the turret so that way it doesn't target Sonic and instead targets them, while also getting rid of the turret. However, there is one more aspect of the minions that I almost see nobody talk about. And to be honest, it's really bad. So basically, I was playing the game the other day, and then I saw a minion standing over my turret, trying over and over again to destroy it and failing. Took them like a good 6-7 seconds to destroy it. But then I realized something. Minions can camp turrets in a way that severely hurts Eggman. Think about it. All you have to do as a minion is stand next to the turret, hit it once so that way it's crippled, and now it can't do anything against Sonic or you. But you know what's even worse? That same minion can just camp the turret, meaning that if Eggman tries to go pick it up, because of the delay between picking up the turret and moving again, that minion is going to be able to land to hit on Eggman, which means that that turret is now too dangerous to pick up, but at the same time, you need to pick up the turret in order to move it, because you need as many turrets as possible. This goes back to the fact that it really sucks that he can't get rid of them at a distance, or like how Rouge can deactivate her bomb from a distance. Since Eggman has no means of self-defense and he needs to go pick up the turret, there's not really anything he can do. He sort of just has to bite the bullet and get hit. And when you go back to all the other support characters, none of them, and I mean none of them, are crippled that badly by minions. It's only Eggman. Eggman is the only character that suffers that badly from minions. And this one aspect of Eggman's character is what turns him from mediocre to really, really shitty. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Eggman. When you put all of these things together, he is not good in the slightest. And I know that Shock won't ever come back, which is why I actually want to talk a little bit about Shock itself. Personally, I think bringing Shock back wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't make him better, because think about it, he'd just be a worse version of Sally and Blaze if Shock were to come back. Personally, what I think should be changed is maybe he should have abilities that complement the turrets or make the turrets stronger. Maybe just buff the turrets in general, make them more spammy, make them stronger. Give him abilities that allow him to make his turrets stronger or something. Just anything would be better than what he has now. And bringing Shock back would not fix it. It would make him better, but he still wouldn't be that good, and he still wouldn't be that original. But the fact that there is only one YouTuber, that YouTuber being Freezy, that actually likes playing Eggman and plays him more consistently, just shows that Eggman is not that good, because more people would be playing him if he was good, more people would be mentioning him if he was good, more people would be saying anything about him if he was good. And to be honest, Freezy has metal pipes stuck in his head, so I don't know how reliable his information is. I think he's completely delusional, but to each their own. Everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. But if you got this far, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. To be honest, I really don't want to keep talking negatively about this game, because regardless of everything I've said and my feelings, I do generally believe that Out is better than 80% of Roblox developers out there. He's not money hungry. He's not terrible at his job. He just has a bit of trouble designing and balancing characters, but to be fair, if we were all given the reins, we probably wouldn't be much better. Plus, I want to talk more positively about this game in general, like how fun Metal Sonic can be and how rewarding Amy can be. But regardless of whether or not he gets better or worse or stays the same, I don't plan on making another video about him, because I don't really see the point in doing it. But with all that being said, goodbye.